Welcome back to another episode of Next Level Fishing, and today I want to talk about buzzbaits. I'm a big proponent of buzzbaits year-round. I catch a lot of fish. It's the first topwater I throw normally. I catch a lot of fish when the water's like 52 degrees. It seems like when you get the first good warming days in the spring, when those fish start moving up into some of the shallowest bays out there and only a couple feet of water, mud bottom, that type of thing, buzzbait can be a great bait. And you know, I a couple episodes I think ago, I showed you how my spinnerbait box and buzzbait box was just in terrible shape. And well, I spent probably 2 hours the other day going through it all. I unfortunately got a lot of water in it, didn't realize that I had water in the case. Had a bunch of baits that rusted out really bad. And I cleaned out a bunch, threw out a few, at least, you know, broke them down, kept the components, the usable components, and then threw out the rest of the bait. It was kind of it just really makes me upset when I have to throw out equipment that was perfectly good. Some of the baits were brand new, I've just never used, and they just rusted out. And you can't take a chance with, especially with spinner baits. If some of the components are rusted, I find that it breaks much easier, and you don't want to lose fish with it. So, anyways, getting off on a rant there. So I cleaned up the box, and I put I always have my buzz baits in with my spinner baits. And I put a bunch of new buzz baits in, and I always like to make sure that I have them in like ready to go action. And one thing I find with buzz baits, they all make different sounds, and I really like my baits to thump and to squeak. And when you get a new bait, sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't. So you know, before I tie one on, you know, this time of year, I like to make sure that I get the right sound out of them. So I go through each buzzbait and kind of tune them, and that's what I want to show you guys today, is how to tune the buzzbait to make it have different sounds. And you know, I've got all the buzzbaits that I really like are the Dirty Jig Scott Canterbury buzzbait, specifically the 1/4 ounce size. But I throw them all the way up to the 1/2 ounce, 3/8 ounce are good too. But I like the more compact one like this. Normally they're pretty good right out of the box in terms of the sound, but like in this case, this is brand new. You know, there's really no good squeak to this. I mean, it's a very quiet bait. And I think there probably are times to have a buzzbait that really doesn't make much squeaking sound. It gives you more of that finesse approach, but I like it to have that chirp. And that's a hard thing to do, but I want to show you how to do that. And there's no specific way to go about this. Really what you're trying to do is rough up everything to give you a little different surface area parts to hit with the blade. The first thing though that I like to do is I take the rivet, and in this case, the rivet right here, brand new rivet. I like to bend part of it down and then the other side of the rivet up. And what you'll get with that is that'll when it spins, instead of it just being a flat surface, the blade will actually go up and down that rivet and create almost like a throbbing action. So we will do that. And it's like I was saying before, you just want to play around with it. I mean, there's not like a specific spot that will get you the exact sound that you want. You just got to play around with it until you do that, until you get what it is that you're after. raise this side up a little bit more. So that already has given me quite a bit of squeak. I don't know if you can hear that, but you hear that squeak? Before it wasn't squeaking at all. So that's one thing I like to do. I then like to take my pliers and squeeze the rivet down to lock it in place. I don't want the rivet moving at all. So that's just a matter of taking your pliers, going around the base and just squeezing it, you know, locking it into place. So that rivet now is not moving. This bait's really chirping pretty good right now. And then finally, the last thing I like to do is this is a diamond crusted hook sharpener. And I like to rough up the shank that the blade is on, just to create, again, another little different surface area for the blade to hit. You know, I'm not trying to go through it at all. I'm just scraping the metal, just creating scratches, light scratches, which will allow the blade to kind of hit it again and create a little different sound. And I lied to you. There's one other thing I like to do too. I like to take the lower portion of the blade has a hole in it that the wire goes through. I like to bend that down just a little bit towards your rivet. There we go. And that's the sound I'm after. So, you know, and I don't know if you can hear, but when I slide that up and down the shank, it almost sounds like it's on sandpaper now because I roughed up that wire. And that really usually helps really good in terms of making that sound. But this one is really starting to chirp nice. I hope you guys can hear that. It's just a nice fine chirp. I mean, when we started with this bait, it was silent. There was nothing, no sound at all to it. The other thing that you'll notice, you know, that blade is rising and falling. So it's added a bunch of vibration. I can feel in holding the shaft here that, you know, the blade wants to vibrate. And that just gives it a nice little shimmy in the water too. You can kind of see it in the hook when I spin it. You can see the hook wants to vibrate. And that's, you know, really what I'm after with these buzz baits. It's you know, there's no exact science to it. You just want to play around with it. You know, you want to rough up the surface edges to allow to take the smoothness of the whole cycle out. By doing that, you'll create noise and you'll create vibration. And those are two things that I think will get you a lot more bites when it comes to throwing a buzzbait. You know, I think there probably are times maybe a absolutely silent bait might work, but in general, I think most people would say with buzzbaits, you want it to create some sound. You want it to be erratic, and that falls back on sound too. You know, you may not want something that is just constantly going, you know, chirp, 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 chirp. It's almost better if it's like silent and then it goes chirp, 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 silent, chirp, silent, chirp. I mean, everything about fishing, in my opinion, to create strikes is to have some erratic action to it. And that sound, that's the actual action of the bait, that's your retrieve speed. You want to generate strikes, and everything that you can do that creates a little bit of a different sound or action will get you more bites. It may not be 20 bites a day. It may only be 1 bite or 2 bites more per day of fishing, but that can be, you know, that can be the difference between cashing a check and not cashing a check. So I'm going to go through the rest of my buzz baits here and clean them up, get them chirping good, and I hope this was useful to you. You know, it's really hard to screw up a bait too, so don't don't feel like, you know, if you're playing around with it too long that you're going to do damage to it. As long as you're not bending the shaft of the buzzbait or the wire of the buzzbait, you're going to be all right. You know, you really can't do too much work to it. It's pretty hard to destroy the wire or the blade on a buzzbait. So don't be afraid at all to tinker with it. And if you don't want to do it on a brand new bait, start on an old bait. But I'm telling you, it'll help you catch a few more fish. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, guys. We need to get the subscriber levels up. Thanks for watching. Bye.